The Danube, Europe's second longest river, flows gently across the heart of the continent, weaving together countries, cultures, and centuries of history. From the Black Forest in Germany to the wide delta at the Black Sea, it passes through grand capitals and quiet villages, carrying with it the stories of empires and the rhythms of daily life. A journey along its waters is not just a cruise, but a drifting meditation through time, where landscapes unfold like pages of an ancient book. On its banks rise landmarks that have shaped Europe's identity. The Hungarian parliament glows beside the river in Budapest, while Vienna's St. Stephen's Cathedral soars above cobblestone streets, echoing with the music of Mozart and Strauss. Castles like Bratislava's fortress and the Wachau Valley's abbeys watch over the river's bends, each one a reminder that the Danube has long been a lifeline of trade, culture, and inspiration. This story invites you to settle into the calm of a river voyage, where each day brings new views and quiet discoveries. You will taste the flavors of goulash and Viennese pastries, hear the whispers of Strauss waltzes, and watch as vineyards, palaces, and ancient fortifications pass slowly by. As the ship glides smoothly through Europe's heart, the Danube becomes more than water. It becomes a companion, steady and timeless, carrying you gently toward rest. Welcome to Bedtime Travel Stories, where soothing tales and gentle narrations take you on a tranquil journey through the world's most enchanting places, right from the comfort of your bed. Unwind and travel with us as we explore the globe one story at a time, helping you relax and drift into a peaceful sleep. The journey begins in Budapest, a city where the Danube divides and unites at the same time. On one bank rises Buda, crowned by its castle and rolling hills, while opposite lies Pest, vibrant with boulevards and markets. The two halves are joined by the graceful chain bridge, its lamps glowing softly at dusk, reflecting in the steady current below. To see the city from the river is to understand why it has long been called the Pearl of the Danube. The Hungarian Parliament building dominates the waterfront, its spires and domes illuminated in golden light. From the deck of a cruise ship, the sight feels almost dreamlike, as though the building has risen out of the water itself. Inside, its halls hold centuries of political history, yet from afar it is simply a vision of elegance mirrored by the calm surface of the river. Not far away, Buda Castle stands as a reminder of the city's royal past. Its terraces and courtyards overlook the water, where lights of passing boats drift slowly by. The Fisherman's Bastion, with its fairy tale towers, offers sweeping views across the city, each archway framing the river in a different way. Together, these landmarks form a panorama that lingers in the memory long after the ship has sailed on. The sounds of Budapest add to its charm. From riverside cafes drift the melodies of gypsy violins, mingling with the hum of evening conversation. In concert halls, Strauss waltzes echo with grandeur, carrying on a tradition that has long connected the city with the heart of European music. To hear these notes while the river glides silently below is to feel history alive in the present. Food becomes part of the experience, as it always does along the Danube. A steaming bowl of goulash warms the evening air with paprika and spice, while sweet chimney cakes turn slowly over coals, their sugar crust caramelizing to perfection. At riverside restaurants, travelers savor Tokaji wine, golden and sweet, as lights shimmer on the water. Each flavor deepens the connection between the land and its river. Budapest is also a city of baths, its hot springs feeding ornate spas that have soothed generations. The steam rising from Széchenyi or Gellert baths is as much a part of the city's character as its bridges and palaces. The thermal waters offer a gentle pause before embarking on the voyage ahead, a reminder that rest and renewal are woven into the very fabric of this place. As the cruise departs, the city lights fade, but their glow lingers on the water. The Parliament's reflection stretches long across the current, a golden path leading downstream. The ship glides smoothly, leaving Budapest behind, but carrying its warmth forward into the journey. The Danube itself feels like a storyteller here. Its currents hold echoes of empires, revolutions, and celebrations, yet it flows onward with quiet dignity. Watching the city drift slowly into the distance, one realizes that the river is not only a path but also a companion, one that will carry travelers through the heart of Europe with patience and grace. Budapest remains a gateway, a place where East and West converge, and where history and modern life flow together as seamlessly as the waters of the Danube. To begin the journey here is to step into a story that will unfold gently, one bend at a time, as the river leads the way. As the ship glides upstream, the skyline of Bratislava comes into view, where the Danube curves gracefully around the Slovak capital. Rising above the river, the white towers of Bratislava Castle stand tall, their red rooftops glowing in the sunlight. From this vantage point, the fortress seems to guard the city and its waters, a symbol of resilience that has watched centuries of change along the riverbanks. The old town lies just below, a maze of cobblestone streets filled with charm. St. Martin's Cathedral, with its soaring spire, has crowned the city since the Middle Ages, once hosting coronations for Hungarian kings and queens. Its bells still ring out across the river, their sound carrying on the breeze. To wander the old town is to step into a storybook, where pastel-colored houses and archways lead to quiet squares filled with cafes. Statues and playful sculptures greet visitors at every turn. The famous Kumil, a bronze figure of a workman peering from a manhole, brings smiles to those who pass, while other whimsical characters lean casually on benches or watch from corners. These touches give Bratislava a sense of humor, softening its centuries-old architecture with warmth and lightness. The riverside promenade stretches wide and welcoming, lined with trees that sway gently in the wind. Cyclists glide along its paths, families gather for walks, and travelers pause to watch boats move steadily past. From here, the Danube feels like the heart of the city, carrying reflections of castle towers and cathedral spires across its flowing surface. Food offers a taste of Slovakia's character. Traditional dishes like brinzové halušky, dumplings with sheep's cheese, arrive at rustic taverns alongside crisp local wines. Sweet pastries dusted with powdered sugar appear in bakery windows, tempting those who stroll the streets. These flavors, hearty and comforting, feel perfectly at home by the river, where life unfolds in gentle rhythms. Bratislava's location at the crossroads of Central Europe gives it a layered identity. Austrian and Hungarian influences mingle with Slovak traditions, creating a tapestry of culture reflected in its architecture and cuisine. To listen to conversations here is to hear a blend of languages, each one part of the city's story. As evening falls, the castle glows softly above the old town, its lights mirrored in the darkening waters. Cafes spill warm light onto the cobblestones, and the sounds of conversation and music drift upward from the squares. From the river, the city looks like a painting, its colors softened by twilight, its spirit both ancient and youthful. The ship continues its course, carrying with it the memory of this riverside capital. Bratislava feels both intimate and grand, a city that embraces the river with open arms. Its presence lingers, not only in the skyline, but in the warmth of its people, the taste of its dishes, and the quiet charm of its streets. In leaving Bratislava, the Danube once again becomes the thread that connects each place to the next. The river's steady current reminds the traveler that every stop is part of a larger journey, one that unfolds gently, mile by mile, beneath the watchful flow of the water. As the Danube carries the ship into Vienna, the air itself seems filled with melody. The Austrian capital, long known as the city of music, rises with elegance along the riverbanks, where grand palaces and tree-lined boulevards reflect the splendor of the Habsburg Empire. Vienna feels timeless, its rhythm steady and refined like a Strauss waltz unfolding in gentle turns. The heart of the city is St. Stephen's Cathedral, its patterned roof tiles gleaming in the light. From its south tower, one can gaze across the rooftops toward the distant curves of the river. The cathedral's bells, echoing through narrow streets, remind visitors of centuries when Vienna was both a spiritual and cultural beacon of Europe. To hear them from the river is to feel the city's pulse. Nearby, the Hofburg Palace reveals the grandeur of the imperial past. Once the residence of the Habsburg dynasty, its courtyards and halls now house museums and treasures of history. To walk its grounds is to feel surrounded by echoes of emperors, empresses, and courtiers, whose influence shaped the continent. Yet today the palace feels calm and welcoming, its vastness softened by the passage of time. Music remains Vienna's living soul. Concert halls such as the Musikverein and the Vienna State Opera still resonate with the works of Mozart, Beethoven, and Strauss. To attend a performance here is to step into a tradition that has carried beauty across centuries. Even on quiet evenings, street musicians along Kärntnerstrasse fill the air with violin notes that drift like whispers on the breeze. The Danube's banks hold their own treasures. The Danube Tower rises above parks and gardens, offering views that stretch across the city. Its height provides perspective, the river winding like a silver thread, the city unfolding in layers of history, and beyond the green hills of the Vienna woods. From this vantage point, Vienna seems both vast and intimate. Food adds to the city's warmth. A slice of Sachertorte, rich with chocolate and apricot, or a plate of warm apfelstrudel dusted with sugar, becomes as much a memory as any monument. Coffee houses like Café Central or Café Sasha offer quiet havens where travelers can pause, sip slowly, and let the world move gently by. These institutions are more than cafes. They are living rooms of the city, where conversation and reflection are as nourishing as the food itself. Vienna also welcomes travelers with grand hotels, some as storied as its palaces. The Hotel Sasha, famous for its cake and its elegance, stands as a reminder that hospitality can itself be a kind of art. To rest here is to step into a tradition of refinement that has long defined the city's embrace of visitors. Evening brings a special magic. The lights of the Ringstrasse glow warmly, illuminating the State Opera, Parliament and Rathaus in golden hues. Carriages pass along the boulevards, their wheels echoing softly on the stones, while the Danube reflects the stars above. The city, so full of grandeur by day, becomes tender and serene by night. Sailing away, Vienna leaves a melody behind, as though the river itself carries its music downstream. The waltzes, the flavors, the spires, and the lights blend into a memory that is both majestic and gentle. In the heart of Europe, Vienna is a city that sings, a song that lingers long after the ship moves on. As the ship sails westward, the river narrows and the Wachau Valley unfolds in gentle curves. This stretch of the Danube is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, famed for its terraced vineyards, medieval towns, and hilltop abbeys. The air is rich with the scent of grapes and wildflowers, while the hills rise softly on either side, cradling the river in a timeless embrace. The town of Dürnstein comes into view, its blue and white church tower standing gracefully above the clustered rooftops. Above the town lie the ruins of a castle where Richard the Lionheart was once held captive, its stones weathered but still clinging to the hillside. Together, the church and castle frame the river in history and legend, their presence both humble and majestic. Vineyards spread across the slopes in neat rows, catching the sunlight in shifting shades of green and gold. This is the land of Grüne Veltliner and Riesling, wines known for their crisp freshness. Farmers tend their vines with care, their work tied to rhythms that have endured for centuries. From the river, the landscape looks like a painted tapestry, where nature and cultivation are perfectly balanced. Melkapi rises further along, glowing like a beacon above the water. Its Baroque facade, with gilded details and sweeping towers, dominates the valley with grace rather than force. Inside, ornate halls and vast libraries hold centuries of wisdom, while its courtyards and gardens offer peace and reflection. To see it from the river is to understand why it has been a spiritual center for so long. Small villages line the banks, their pastel houses reflected in the water. Fishermen cast nets in quiet eddies, while church bells chime softly across the valley. Each settlement seems to welcome the river, as though the Danube itself is a neighbor that has lived beside them for countless generations. Food here is inseparable from the land. Platters of smoked fish, fresh bread, and apricot preserves, the valley's signature fruit, are served in rustic inns called hurigan. Travelers sip local wine under shaded pergolas, the taste as much a memory of the valley as the sight of vineyards rolling into the horizon. The valley also holds hidden chapels and small monasteries tucked into forested hillsides. Their simplicity contrasts with the grandeur of Melk, yet both carry the same sense of devotion. Passing them from the river feels like gliding past quiet prayers whispered into the landscape. As the sun lowers, the Wachau glows in soft golden light. The vineyards shimmer, the abbeys gleam, and the river mirrors the beauty with calm dignity. This moment, caught between day and night, feels suspended in time. The Wachau Valley leaves the traveler with a sense of harmony between land and river, past and present, devotion and daily life. To drift through it is to be embraced by Europe's heart, gently and endlessly, as the Danube continues its patient journey. Further along the Danube, the city of Linz greets travelers with a blend of tradition and innovation. Once known primarily as an industrial hub, Linz has transformed into a cultural center where art, music, and technology thrive together. Its riverfront shimmers with modern architecture, yet just beyond lie historic streets that recall centuries of change. The balance makes the city both surprising and comforting, a bridge between old and new. The heart of Linz is its Hauptplatz, one of the largest town squares in Austria. Surrounded by pastel-colored Baroque buildings, the square feels like a gathering place for both locals and travelers. Cafes spill onto its edges, while the Trinity column rises gracefully in its center, a marble reminder of faith and resilience. From here, narrow lanes stretch outward toward the river, carrying the rhythm of daily life. The Danube itself remains central to the city's identity. Bridges span the water, connecting neighborhoods while boats drift steadily by. From the riverside, the view captures both the old town and the gleaming glass of the Ars Electronica Center, a museum dedicated to digital art and future technologies. At night, the museum glows with vivid lights that ripple across the water, transforming the river into a canvas. Culture thrives here in many forms. The Lentos Art Museum, with its striking glass facade, showcases contemporary works while reflecting the river at its feet. Concert halls host classical performances, while outdoor festivals bring music and color to the streets. Linz, once overlooked, has embraced creativity as its defining character, offering travelers a glimpse of Europe's future rooted in its past. Food continues the journey's richness. The Linzer Torte, said to be one of the oldest cake recipes in the world, offers layers of spiced pastry and fruit jam, its lattice crust as charming as its taste. Served in traditional cafes, it pairs perfectly with strong Austrian coffee, warming the spirit after a riverside stroll. Such flavors anchor the city in tradition, even as its skyline looks forward. The Pöstlingberg Basilica crowns the hills above Linz, its twin towers visible from across the river. A tram climbs steeply to its doors, rewarding visitors with sweeping views of the city, the Danube winding below and the hills stretching into the distance. In the quiet of the basilica, the contrast between the bustling city and the stillness of faith becomes clear. Linz has also nurtured a connection to music. The Bruckner House Concert Hall honors Anton Bruckner, the composer whose works still echo through the city. Festivals celebrate his legacy, while new voices continue to fill the air with creativity. The harmony of tradition and innovation is perhaps best expressed in this balance of music, past and present. Evening transforms Linz into a river of lights. The Ars Electronica Center, the Lentos Museum, and the bridges glow in shifting colors, mirrored by the Danube's steady flow. The city seems alive with energy, yet softened by the water's calm. Travelers watching from the ship's deck feel both inspired and soothed, carried by the river's gentle current. Linz, once a stop on the way to other destinations, now stands as a destination in its own right. Its blend of history, art, and modernity reflects the evolving character of Europe itself. As the ship departs, the city lingers in memory, a place of transformation, creativity, and quiet beauty on the banks of the Danube. Where the Danube meets the Inn and the Ilz, Passau emerges like a jewel at the confluence. Known as the Three Rivers City, it holds a rare harmony, where waters of different colors blend yet remain distinct as they join their journeys. From the deck of the ship, the sight is mesmerizing. The silvery Danube, the green Inn, and the dark Ilz converging in quiet majesty beneath the spires of the old town. Passau's skyline is dominated by St. Stephen's Cathedral, its white towers and green domes rising with graceful authority. Inside lies the world's largest cathedral organ, its pipes filling the vast nave with music that seems to echo the river's flow. To hear it is to be swept into sound as immense and steady as the waters themselves, a hymn both grand and calming. The old town stretches across a narrow peninsula, its cobblestone streets lined with pastel buildings that gleam softly in the light. Winding alleys lead to hidden courtyards and quiet cafes, where the aroma of coffee and pastries lingers in the air. Each turn reveals a new perspective on the rivers, reminding visitors that water shapes every part of life here. The Vesta Oberhaus fortress crowns the hill above, its walls overlooking the town and its rivers. Built in the 13th century, it once guarded the waterways and still commands views that stretch for miles. From its terraces, one can see the Danube winding westward, the Inn flowing down from the Alps, and the Ilz descending from forested hills. The convergence feels both strategic and poetic, a natural meeting written into the landscape. Passau's traditions flow into its food as well. Bavarian flavors dominate: sausages with mustard, pretzels warm from the oven, and mugs of golden beer brewed with alpine spring water. Yet the river adds its own touch, with fresh fish dishes often appearing on local menus. These meals, hearty and comforting, tie the town to both land and water. The town's culture reflects its position as a gateway between regions. Austrian and Bavarian influences blend in its architecture and festivals, creating a character that feels both familiar and unique. Local crafts, from glasswork to wood carving, carry forward traditions shaped by centuries of trade along the river. Life here is lived at the river's pace. Children play along the embankments, cyclists ride paths that follow the water, and travelers pause on benches to watch boats drift past. The Danube feels less like a visitor and more like a neighbor, present in every moment of the town's rhythm. Evening in Passau is especially peaceful. Lights from the cathedral and old town shimmer on the water, while the fortress glows softly on the hill above. The rivers, once distinct in color, merge into a single mirror of the night sky. The town becomes hushed, its beauty deepened by stillness. Passau remains a place of meeting, of rivers, cultures, and histories. To pause here is to feel the joining of many paths into one, a reminder that journeys often converge before continuing on. As the ship departs, the confluence lingers in memory, a symbol of harmony carried gently downstream. As the Danube flows further into Bavaria, the city of Regensburg rises with its medieval skyline intact. Unlike many places touched by time and turmoil, Regensburg has preserved its old town with remarkable care. From the river, its stone towers and spires stand proudly, a vision of history that still breathes with daily life. The city feels like a bridge to the Middle Ages, where cobblestone streets lead not only to the past, but also into the heart of Europe's living heritage. The stone bridge, built in the 12th century, stretches gracefully across the Danube. Once considered an engineering marvel, it carried crusaders and traders toward distant horizons. Today it remains a central landmark, its arches reflected softly in the flowing water. To cross it is to walk the same path as emperors and merchants, footsteps echoing in both stone and memory. St. Peter's Cathedral crowns the old town, its twin spires rising high above the rooftops. Inside, stained glass windows glow with vibrant colors, while the cathedral's choir, one of the oldest boys' choirs in the world, continues a tradition of sacred music that has lasted for centuries. The sound of voices soaring within the vaulted space is as uplifting as the spires themselves. Regensburg's narrow lanes reveal treasures at every turn. Townhouses with ornate facades, courtyards filled with ivy, and centuries-old guild halls speak of a city shaped by trade and culture. Cafes spill into squares, where the hum of conversation blends with the ringing of church bells. Each corner seems alive with history, yet softened by the warmth of daily life. Food traditions here carry their own fame. The historic Wurstkugel, said to be the world's oldest continuously operating sausage kitchen, serves bratwurst and sauerkraut beside the river. The scent of grilled sausages mingles with the fresh breeze of the Danube, offering a flavor as enduring as the city itself. To taste them is to join a line of travelers stretching back 8 centuries. Regensburg was once a free imperial city of the Holy Roman Empire, and its grandeur remains visible. The old town hall with its medieval chambers recalls the days when emperors and princes gathered here for the imperial diet. These walls, though quiet now, still carry the weight of decisions that shaped Europe's course. The city has also nurtured learning and faith. Monasteries, universities, and libraries have long contributed to its role as a center of thought and culture. To wander past their walls is to sense the flow of ideas as steady as the river itself, moving forward through time. Evening brings a special charm to Regensburg. Lights reflect on the river. The stone bridge glows softly, and the cathedral's silhouette rises against the twilight sky. The old town becomes hushed, its medieval beauty deepened by shadows and quiet. From the ship, the city looks timeless, as though centuries have folded gently into a single serene moment. Regensburg remains a gem along the Danube, a city where history has not only survived, but flourished. To pause here is to feel both the grandeur of empires and the intimacy of daily life, woven seamlessly into streets and stones. As the ship departs, the city lingers in memory, a medieval jewel held gently by the river. As the Danube curves onward, its banks give way to the rolling hills of Bavaria and the shadowed slopes of the Bavarian forest. Here the river flows wide and calm, its surface reflecting forests that stretch endlessly toward the horizon. Villages appear like quiet pauses along the journey, their church spires rising gently above red-roofed houses, their fields golden with grain or green with meadow. The landscape feels timeless, a countryside shaped by both river and tradition. The Bavarian Forest National Park lies to the north, a wilderness where spruce and beech trees grow thick and tall. Within its depths, lynx and deer roam freely, while birds soar above in patient circles. The forest has become a sanctuary for both wildlife and people, offering trails where silence is broken only by the rustle of leaves or the distant call of an owl. From the river, the wooded hills appear as a green embrace, their presence both grounding and vast. Small towns along this stretch reveal another side of life on the Danube. Straubing, with its medieval tower and colorful town square, recalls centuries of fairs and gatherings. Deggendorf, often called the gateway to the Bavarian forest, blends history with quiet charm. Each settlement offers glimpses of daily rhythms, markets filled with produce, bakeries fragrant with pretzels, and riverside inns where travelers find rest. The river itself remains a constant companion, its pace unhurried, its surface glimmering in the sun. Barges carry goods as they have for generations, linking inland Europe to the wider world, while leisure boats glide silently past, their reflections mingling with the forested banks. Watching these vessels pass, one senses the Danube's role not just as scenery, but as lifelines sustaining both commerce and culture. Food in this region is hearty and rooted in Bavarian tradition. Plates of roast pork with dumplings, bowls of sauerkraut and tall glasses of Weissbier bring warmth after a day along the water. In smaller villages, travelers might discover honey from forest hives or bread baked in centuries-old ovens. These meals, simple yet rich, taste of the land as much as the river that nourishes it. Legends also flow through these hills. Tales of forest spirits and hidden treasures whisper from generation to generation, their origins entwined with the shadows of the woods. To drift past under twilight is to feel the presence of stories lingering just beyond sight, adding a touch of mystery to the journey. The Bavarian forest, though vast and wild, coexists peacefully with the Danube's steady current. The two form a harmony of strength and stillness, one flowing, the other rooted. Together, they create a landscape that feels protective and enduring, a cradle of both nature and culture. Evening in this region is gentle. The sky fades to shades of rose and lavender, the forest darkens into silhouette, and the lights of villages glow like scattered lanterns on the banks. From the ship's deck, the view becomes a painting of contrasts, vast wilderness and intimate human settlement, old traditions and new journeys. As the Danube carries travelers beyond the Bavarian forest, the memory of this landscape remains. It is a reminder of the quiet strength of nature, the warmth of simple traditions, and the timeless companionship of the river that flows endlessly on. As the Danube winds further southeast, its character shifts, and the river enters one of its most dramatic passages, the Iron Gates Gorge. Here the waters cut between towering cliffs that rise sharply on either side, marking the natural boundary between Serbia and Romania. The scale is immense, the stone walls pressing close to the river, yet the current flows with steady calm, carrying travelers through a passage as old as the earth itself. The cliffs reveal their secrets in subtle ways. Carvings and inscriptions mark the stone, remnants of Roman engineers who once built roads and fortifications along these banks. The Tabula Traiana, an ancient Roman plaque, still clings to the rock face, its letters softened by centuries yet still legible. To pass by is to glimpse history carved into stone, the river itself serving as both witness and guardian. Modern monuments join the ancient. The massive rock-carved face of Decebalus, last king of Dacia, gazes sternly across the water, its features hewn into the cliffs as though to remind travelers of the region's enduring spirit. Opposite, monasteries rest quietly along the banks, their domes and crosses softened by the light. Together, they weave a tapestry of memory and devotion into the gorge's rugged grandeur. The waters of the gorge hold a beauty of their own. Narrow stretches shimmer in shifting colors, sometimes deep emerald, sometimes pale silver depending on the angle of the sun. Ripples catch the light like threads of silk, adding softness to the formidable cliffs. The Danube here feels both powerful and gentle, a river that has carved through mountains, yet moves with graceful calm. Birds circle high above, their calls echoing faintly from rock to rock. The cliffs provide sanctuary for eagles and falcons, their silhouettes drifting against the sky. To watch them soar above the gorge is to feel the scale of the place, where stone, river, and sky merge into a single vast presence. The villages near the gorge live quietly, their red-roofed houses nestled close to the banks. Life here is simple, tied to fishing, farming, and the steady rhythm of the river. Boats slip in and out of small harbors, their wakes vanishing quickly into the flow. From the water, these settlements appear as gentle pauses amid grandeur, reminders of the harmony between people and river. Food reflects the river's gifts. Freshly caught fish, grilled and served with local herbs, becomes a meal that tastes of the Danube itself. Paired with wine from nearby vineyards, the flavors feel grounded in both land and water, a reflection of life lived in close companionship with nature. Evening in the gorge is a time of wonder. As the sun lowers, the cliffs glow in warm tones of amber and rose, while shadows stretch long across the river. Lights from scattered villages flicker faintly, their glow dwarfed by the immensity of stone. The gorge feels timeless, as though night and day are only passing guests in its enduring presence. The iron gates leave a lasting impression, not only for their majesty but for their sense of continuity. Here the Danube has carved through mountains, carried empires, and sustained life across centuries. To pass through is to feel part of something greater, a journey through both history and nature, steady as the river itself. As the journey draws to a close, the Danube flows on beneath the quiet light of the moon. Its waters shimmer silver, carrying the reflections of villages, castles, and forests that line its banks. The river, steady and timeless, feels like a thread woven through all of Europe, binding lands and stories together in its gentle current. The ship glides silently through the night, its lights glowing softly on the water. From the deck the air is cool and calm, filled with the faint scent of riverbanks and distant forests. Stars gather overhead, mirrored faintly in the rippling surface below, as though sky and water have become one vast expanse of peace. In this stillness, the Danube becomes more than a river. It is a companion, carrying memories of Budapest's grandeur, Vienna's music, the Wachau Valley's vineyards, and the deep silence of the Iron Gates Gorge. Each place lingers like a note in a melody, blending into a lullaby sung by the river itself. To rest here under moonlight is to drift into dreams guided by water, stone, and time. We hope you enjoyed today's serene journey and found peace in our gentle narration. Do join us next time as we make a relaxing visit to another of the world's most iconic places. Sweet dreams and safe travels until we meet again.